Hello and welcome to your first project, Photoshop Battle. So you are going to be given an image of a cat, and your challenge is to creatively Photoshop manipulate this image into some humorous but school-appropriate fashion. So you'll have the source cat, and then you can use any other image that you like. The intro people, make sure that you watch the Photoshop tutorials before you begin. The advanced people, you don't need to do so. All right, so right here on the screen we have some sort of examples. This is our source image that you'll be working with, and here are some examples of some things that other people did, right? And you're free to roam the internet to find some, clips from movies, etc., that you want to do. This is my final image. All right. And so you can use all of the cat, part of the cat, it's really up to you. So what do you need to do? First of all, you need to find the image that you're going to be manipulating, right? And you're going to be using the cat image that you will just be downloading from the haiku page. So you should have already watched the videos about how to use the selection tools, and they're right here, and there's a couple ones that you can use. One is just the shapes. The ones that are going to be more useful are going to be the lasso tools and sort of the selection ones, all right? So how I did this is I used sort of the lasso tool to just select the cat. And I Command-C, copied it, and then I went on to the new sort of image that I'm going to be manipulating, and I just pasted on. So you notice it's really small, and if you do Command-T, you can transform an image. Holding down Shift makes it proportional, right? But if I don't want it proportional, I can just drag it to make it not proportional. That's really good in terms of holding down Shift. This is a really important modifier key, all right? One thing I suggest you do while you're manipulating your image is maybe change the opacity so you can kind of see what you're doing below and above. And Command-T also, if you bring your cursor to the outside corners, you'll see it turns into a corner like this, and you can move it, right? And you'll see it changes right here. Whenever you're doing any manipulation, make sure you either double click or hit return to make your changes happen, right? And so we'll be using the layers over here a lot. Once you sort of put your image in, other things I think are really important to do are the image mask, and you should have watched the video about how to use that. And so remember, you want to use the brush tool right here. And you can change it here, the size, the hardness, right? But you can also do the sort of quick bracketing to make it bigger and smaller. You'll use white to paint in and black to remove. So I can remove, but then if I remove something that I want to put back, I just switch it and repaint it back in. So that's how I do that. Now say after I actually sort of manipulate my image, right? And I got my cat, he's all good. And then I decide that Command-T, I'm going to turn him a little bit, and I'm going to make the opacity a little lower so I can actually see below. And then I'm just going to take my brush tool and I'm going to just take away here, right? And then, say I'm done, I'm just doing a really quick job. I make the opacity back to being top. And you can duplicate an image right here, duplicate, or you can do really quick Command-J to duplicate an image and just drag them around. So these are just some things that you've just learned and that you can use in terms of this project. Command-J, I'm just duplicating it and moving around. So really importantly is to know what layer you're on, right? And make sure you're not on the mask, you're on the actual layer. So this is the tools that you'll be using it. As you use it, you'll get more fluency. So those are some things that I want you to use. You can feel free to play around with some of these other tools, the other sort of selection tools in terms of the quick selection magic wand when you're, say, getting rid of the background. So for example, if I just go back in here and I copy this and I paste it and I make it bigger. If I want to get rid of the background and I add a layer, I can use the quick selection tool, the magic wand, right? And the same thing goes with brushes, using the bracket tool to make it bigger. And I can sort of go in and I can just delete. And if that doesn't work, make sure you change the color, and that deletes it. So the delete tool versus the brush tool just uses the opposite sort of foreground and background layer. So that's a quick way to sort of get rid of the background of the cat. So these are a couple things you can use. You can also play around with the smudge tool, which is cool. It's, you know, you can sort of smudge things into the background to make it look a little bit like it was really a part of the image. Another thing you can play around with is the burn and dodge tool. So you can see with the burn tool, I'm sort of darkening in part of the image. This range tells you is the shadows, midtones, highlights versus the exposure is sort of the amount. And then the dodge tool is just lightening up. And I'll show you how that really looks. So you can see, whoa. Let's do shadows. Well, it's not really doing that much, but that's kind of what those burn and dodge tool does. So I had to be in the right layer. So if I'm right here, you can see this is the sort of the dodge tool versus this is the burn tool. So it's really easy to sort of try to do something and then you realize you're not actually on the wrong layer. So it's really important just to always know what layer you're on and if you're on the mask or the real layer. And remember, the eye tool will just let you see or hide that layer. So this is quick and dirty, how I did mine. And you can feel free to really experiment and explore how you're going to do yours. And this is just a fun way to get the basic fluency of using Photoshop. One last very important note is you'll notice that this is a JPEG and this is a PSD. A PSD is a file that has all the layers, and so you need to make sure that once you start manipulating your image, you go File, Save As, and you save it as whatever you want to call it within your design folder. And as you're working, make sure you're continually saving and saving and saving, because it doesn't save automatically. One last thing is the image that you'll be submitting is a JPEG, and this is a PSD. So when you're done, make sure you go File, Save As, and you make sure that it's a JPEG, and this is the one that you'll be submitting. Check this right here when it says JPEG options, make sure it's 12, and say OK. So this is very importantly, and that's just the last couple things you have to know, is save it as a PSD, and when you're done, save it as JPEG.